Welcome, Gunrunner.
Hey everybody, Kieran aka The Retro Lad here, and today I'm going to be doing another book review. I've done lots of these recently and I have lots more to do. There seems to be a real flurry of books around at the moment, but the one I'm going to be reviewing today is actually one that's been out for a little while. I just hadn't got around to reviewing it yet, and I'm going to be doing this slightly different to normal because usually I have a physical book to review that's sitting there that we can look at and see the quality. But in this case, I'm just going to be looking at the PDF version and I'll explain why, first of all. Now, the reason why is because this book retails at $60. Yes, correct. You did hear that right. $60. So when I include shipping on that, which is extortionate to the UK, we're talking I'm probably spending 70, £80 on buying a physical book that is not worth that amount of money. There's plenty of similar books with similar page counts that cost nowhere near that. So yes, the price for this is incredibly prohibitive. So I picked up the PDF version instead, so I could see what it's all about, and that's probably the best way to go with stuff like this, because then you can find out if it's actually worth the money that they're asking for it. Of course. Now, this is a book by Pat Contri, aka Pat the NES Punk. Now, many will know I'm not a massive fan of the NES, and I get very annoyed with a lot of the American revisionist history when it comes to the system. And to be honest, Pat has had a large part to play in that. I wouldn't say I hate him or anything like that. I always was never really that aware of his work apart from the stuff he did with Angry Video Game Nerd, and I always quite enjoyed that, to be honest. And I know that he writes a lot of Angry Video Games material, so that's all very cool as well. But when it comes to when he talks about NES stuff, he's horribly biased, and it really lets him down. Especially the series he did, the video game years, which I now believe is on Amazon. And that was supposed to be, going through that. I was really excited by that series. It had some nice ideas. Um, it was the whole idea, the whole idea of the series in the first place is a great idea, and there's some great segments within the series, and they've got lots of different presenters involved, and etc. But the problem was that it was just horribly biased towards Nintendo, and that meant that they got so much stuff wrong. It was just unreal. It just became a bit of a mockery, really, because the amount of stuff they got wrong. So with all that in mind, let's take a look at the Ultimate Nintendo Guide to the NES Library. Now, this was originally launched through Kickstarter, and Pat was promising an all-inclusive book that wouldn't include reviews. It was just, it wasn't his personal opinions. It was a book about, dedicated to the NES. What we actually have is far from that, as you'll find out. It actually ends up being very personal, talking about lots of his own personal things. He did get some other people involved in the book as well. As a list here, there's a few people I know on there, like Brett Weiss, for example, who I've done some work with quite recently. So Blake Harris as well is quite well known. So key to the guide. He's given everything ratings, which I said originally he said it wasn't going to contain reviews, and then he changed his mind on that. And I think when you're doing this kind of book, I think it probably should contain reviews anyway. So I'm not going to criticise there because I think that's probably the right choice. But there is always an amount of personal opinion that comes into it because he's given everything star ratings. So I always do wonder with books like this whether you should give the games ratings. You probably shouldn't. I mean, I did something similar to this with the Amiga, for example, and I wrote all the reviews and I didn't give any of the games ratings. I just wrote about the game, leave people to form their own opinions. The thing was with a lot of these games as well, books, it's about the nostalgia. So, there might be a game that people love that everyone else hates. They just want to see it in the book. So I don't necessarily think with something like this that you need to have ratings. I think if you want to go and see games with ratings, you go and look online and you look at something like, the Video Game Critic site, for example, or Retro Reviews or something like that. So you can see now. I'm just flicking through just so you can get an idea of what the reviews look like. They're fairly well put together, fairly well presented with a picture of the cartridge. Although I think that it would have looked much better with a picture of the box art. I would have much rather have seen a picture of the box art than a picture of the cartridge. I think, especially as NES cartridges are so amazingly ugly. You know, you just think kind of, who wants to see a boring grey cartridge there. But we're only on D, so I might actually let's skip ahead a bit because I want to get to the other content that's in here. That's K, Q, S. Going ahead here, T. So bearing in mind, you know, what was promised with this book was going to be lots of other stuff, not just game reviews. So I'm going to, what have I got here? So there we go. We're up to Z. Let's go to there. So let's have a look. So it finishes there with Zombie Nation. There, a shooter. Then we've got. Let's see if I can get it back in line. Sorry, it's kind of gone out of sync a bit. So I should get it back. So PAL NES exclusives. He's sort of catered for looking at PAL. Why? I don't know why you couldn't just put them in with the standard reviews. I'm not sure. It's kind of separated them into a separate section. So he's got a bit looking at PAL games there. Drop Zone, Elite, Kickoff. There's some pretty good PAL only releases actually there. Parodius. I'm surprised that was PAL only. Rodland, which is absolutely excellent. Probably one of the best PAL only games actually. Turrican. So there we go. 8 HES exclusive NES releases. So Home Entertainment Suppliers, they're an Australian company for those who don't know. So they did some stuff of their own. Other special stuff. So we've got stuff by Codemasters, for example, that wasn't official. Special cartridges that were made. All the kart variants, so obviously 10 Gen and stuff as well. And Colour Dreams, who were unofficial. The accessories, in their words, insight into the NES launch, which I found got a fair bit. The facts and the history was actually quite a bit off on that. It was quite horribly biased when I read through it, unfortunately. Stuff about the 10 Gen lawsuit there, which is quite interesting. Dragon Warrior giveaway. Stuff about competitions. Why was music so good on the NES? I found that a strange one because I didn't think music was that good on the NES. But apparently they seem to think it is. Colour Dreams and Wisdom Tree. That's quite an interesting story actually. The licensed property NES Games Edition. So censorship hypocrisy. Unreleased NES games. I would have liked to seen a lot more focus on that. They really didn't go into much detail there. It's quite brief. A lot of it's just literally just screenshots. And then the backers. So really the book ends up just being loads of reviews. It's actually, for what it is, for what it costs, is quite lazy. It's not going to teach you anything you haven't heard before. It really isn't. I mean, there's literally nothing in there that you couldn't just go on the internet and read. I mean, all of this stuff I would have loved to have seen. With all the writers he's got involved, I would have loved to have seen some more interesting articles. I would have loved to have seen some interviews with actual game designers in there talking about their games and offering some more insight into the NES and what they did with it. I mean, that's what I would expect to see in any book like this. I would expect to see those developer interviews to get that exclusive content that you can't get anywhere else. I mean, surely someone like Pat, who does a podcast and, you know, he's written for magazines and books and all sorts, surely he must have connections that he can get these kind of people to come and talk about their games. It just seems crazy that he couldn't get, you know, he didn't put stuff like that in. And for the price, just literally reading down a list of games and what his opinion of them is not what I would want to pay 60 quid for. So I'm bloody glad I only bought the PDF, to be honest, because it's just, you know, I was very disappointed with this. I mean, if you love the NES, then you'll probably get some enjoyment out of it. If you don't, and you certainly won't, there's certainly nothing there that's going to change your mind about the NES, and there's nothing in there new. There's nothing in there that makes the book stand out or makes it worth buying, and the price is just extremely prohibitive. So that's it really. I hope you enjoyed my look at the Pat Contri's NES book. Thanks for watching. Give us a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you all with another video very soon. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.